Welcome! Tonight, we drift back in time to a land of golden sands, where the desert meets the sacred river, to the kingdom of Kemet, known to us now as ancient Egypt. Let your eyes grow heavy, let your breath soften, and let us wander together into the mysteries of the afterlife. As the ancient Egyptians once understood them, the Egyptians believed that life did not end with death. Death was a doorway, a gentle passage into the next world known as the Duat. But the soul did not walk this path alone. And so, when a person passed away, a long and delicate process would begin. A process not just of preservation, but of transformation. The body, the cot, the physical form. It was not to be discarded, but lovingly prepared. For the Egyptians, the body was a vessel through which the soul, the Ka, the Ba, and the Oc could continue its eternal journey. If the body was lost, the soul could not be reborn. The embalmers were sacred men, silent, skilled, and shrouded in ritual, working in the place of purification, a tent called the Ibu. They began the holy task. First, the body was washed with water from the Nile, blessed water, life-giving water. Then came the most delicate act, the removal of the brain, a hooked instrument inserted through the nostril, and the brain drawn out slowly. To us, it may seem strange, but to them it was an act of reverence. The Egyptians believed that the heart was the seat of thought. So when mummifying the body, the heart was left untouched. The brain was removed first, then the liver, the stomach, the intestines, and the lungs, each wrapped in linen and placed in sacred jars called canopic jars. Each jar was guarded by a divine figure, Imsiti, with a human face, protected the liver, Hapi, with the head of a baboon, the lungs, Duimutev, jackal-headed, the stomach, and Kabisanuf, falcon-faced, the intestines, with the body now hollow. It was filled with natron, a natural salt gathered from the desert. For 40 days, the body rested in silence, slowly drying and becoming still. After 40 days, the natron was brushed away, revealing a body, hollow, quiet, preserved, to return its shape. It was gently stuffed with linens, resins, and sometimes sawdust. Then came the wrapping, layer on layer of linen bandages, each layer sealed with oils, prayers, and amulets, a scarab for the heart, an eye of Horus for protection, and sacred scrolls placed between the folds. The final wrapping might take up to 15 days, and when complete, the form was elegant, serene, a perfect vessel for eternity. The funeral procession. But death was not private. It was a rite of passage, celebrated with family, community, and ceremony. The day of burial was filled with solemn beauty. A procession made its way across the Nile to the necropolis, the city of the dead. Mourners wailed in ritual grief, crying out the name of the deceased, ensuring they would not be forgotten. Priests led the way, burning incense and reciting spells from the Book of the Dead. And at the center, the coffin, sometimes a simple wooden box, other times gilded and painted, decorated with prayers, and the face of the one who now slept within. The final ritual, the opening of the mouth. At the tomb, a final rite took place, the most sacred of all. A priest, wearing the mask of Anubis, touched ritual tools to the mouth of the mummy. With this act, the senses were restored. The soul could speak, eat, breathe again. A voice was given to the dead so they might stand before Osiris and recite the 42 negative confession. I have not stolen. I have not lied. I have not caused pain. You are now halfway between worlds. Let your breathing deepen as we continue this journey together. The wind is quiet now. The desert is still, and we stand before the gates of the unseen world. The soul has left the body, but the journey is not yet complete. Now begins the crossing into the realm of judgment. The Hall of Mat. This is no place of chaos or fear. It is a chamber of calm order. Soft golden light falls from unseen sources, and the air is thick with incense and wisdom. At the center of the hall stands a great scale. One side holds the heart of the deceased, the other, a single feather, the feather of Maat, goddess of truth, balance, and justice. The heart, remember, was the seat of the mind. It bore all memories, all deeds. The heart could not lie. It held the truth of a lifetime. One by one, the gods draw near. 42 divine judges, each asking a question. Did you treat the poor with kindness? Did you speak truth? Did you defile the land? The soul must answer with confidence and honesty. This was called the negative confession. Not a plea for mercy, but a declaration of purity. Then the heart is placed upon the scales. Beside the scales crouches a creature, part lion, part hippopotamus, part crocodile. She is Ammit, the devourer of the dead. If the heart weighs heavier than a feather, if it is burdened with guilt, with wrongdoing, with untruth, then Ammit devours it. The soul is no more, not punished, not tormented, simply erased. But if the heart balance is true, if it is light, unburdened, then the soul is declared justified, and a new journey begins. Beyond the hall, across a still lake of stars and sky, there lies a land called the Aru, the field of reeds. It is a mirror of the Nile Valley, but wheat grows 6 feet tall. The rivers are cool and sweet. There is no pain, no hunger, no sorrow. The justified soul walks barefoot in this place, along green paths beside clear water, reunited with family, with ancestors, with friends, lost long ago. Each soul tends their own garden just as they did in life. They fish, they farm, they play music. Eternity is not a place of clouds or harps, but of peace, familiar, gentle, and real. But for the soul to remain in peace, the living must remember. That is why tombs were not built for vanity, but for protection and remembrance. On the walls of tombs, scenes of life are carved: feasting, farming, music, dancing, moments meant to last forever. Offerings were left: bread, beer, figs, flowers, as real sustenance for the And once a year on the Feast of the Valley, families crossed the Nile to dine with the dead. They ate beside the tomb, spoke the names of their ancestors, sang old songs, laughed and wept, and in doing so, they kept the soul alive. To the Egyptians, to be forgotten was to die a second death. So names were spoken aloud, carved deep into stone, written on scrolls, etched into coffins, woven into memory. Because so long as one voice still speaks your name, you are not truly gone. You walk the field of reeds. You smile beneath the stars, and you rest forever. And now your breath is deep. Your body is still. Your mind drifts far down the Nile. You have walked with the dead. You have heard their truths. You have crossed into a world where death is not the end, but the beginning of something gentle, something vast and eternal. The sky darkens over the Nile. Soft starlight spills across the desert sands. The journey has ended. The soul rests in its eternal home. And yet Egypt remains, still watching, still whispering through sand and stone. Let us linger now in the hush of eternity and consider what these customs mean. To the ancient Egyptians, death was not to be feared. It was a crossing, a sacred continuation. This belief shaped every part of their lives. They built for the afterlife as much as for the present. They saved not for wealth and life, but for comfort in death. They prayed not just for the gods, but for a beautiful reunion with loved ones. They lived with one eye always on the horizon of forever. The pyramid builders for kings and queens, death came with grandeur. The pyramids, those towering shapes on the edge of the desert, were not just monuments. They were gateways. Inside, passageways, twisted like riddles. Walls were etched with spells and chambers held treasures, not of gold alone, but of meaning. A model boat to sail the afterlife. Little figurines called the Shabdi, who would serve the soul in paradise. Even the alignment of the pyramid pointed to the stars, to Orion, perhaps, or to Sirius, the bright star that marked rebirth. Every stone, a prayer. Every chamber, a story of hope. Tombs of the common people, But it was not only pharaohs who prepared for the next life. Farmers, scribes, artisans, all built tombs with what they could. Some were humble, a painted box, a clay pot, a small shrine of mud brick on the edge of the desert. Inside, a figure might rest in linen, beside offerings of bread, a jar of beer, and the hopes of the family who buried them. And still, these were powerful, because remembrance was not measured in gold. It was measured in love, a name spoken, a story told, a place at the feast of the ancestors, sacred texts and spells to guide the soul. Texts were written, words like oars on the dark river of the Duat, the pyramid texts, the oldest known religious writings, then the coffin texts, painted inside wooden tombs, and finally, the Book of the Dead. But the Book of the Dead was not a single book. It was a collection of spells chosen for each person's needs. One might say, "May I pass the gates of the West." Another, "May my heart not betray me before the gods." These were not magic tricks. They were comfort, like bedtime prayers whispered into eternity. Anubis, Osiris, and the divine in this great journey. The gods were ever present. Anubis, the jackal-headed guide, stood watch over mummification. He protected the dead from chaos and decay. Osiris, the green-skinned god of resurrection, ruled the underworld. He had died and been reborn, and so he welcomed others to follow his path. Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe, recorded the results of the heart's weighing. His scrolls never lied. And Mat, feather-crowned, was more than truth. She was balance, order, the sacred rhythm of the world. Modern echoes. Thousands of years have passed. The tombs are quiet. The gods mostly silent. But the names, they still survive. Tutankhamun, Nefertiti, Seti, Imhotep. Not because of gold, not because of power, but because we remember them. We say their names. We stand before their painted tombs, gaze at their mummies, read their prayers, and in doing so, we become part of their eternity. The whisper of sand if you ever walk the Valley of the Kings or drift by boat along the Nile. You may feel it, a breeze from nowhere, a hush in the stone, a voice without words. It is Egypt calling across time. It says, live gently, die bravely, remember those who came before, and when your time comes, cross the river with peace in your heart. The stars are high now, the sand is cool, and the story is told. Sleep now, as the pharaohs slept, wrapped in dreams, guided by gods, watched over by Anubis, and may your journey be just as gentle, and may it keep you in balance. If you found this video helpful or enjoyable, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more amazing content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.